In Cuba, the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy described keeping Cuba on the list of countries that support terrorism as an outrage. In Spain, electoral silence is observed this Saturday prior to the municipal and regional elections following a campaign marred by electoral fraud scandals. And in Sudan, fighting continues in the northern city of Darfur. Officials say over 1 million people have been displaced so far. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, assured that keeping Cuba on the list of countries that support terrorism is an outrage. The statement came during a meeting held with Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel after concluding the third joint Cuba-European Union Council on Friday. The European official also condemned the U.S. blockade imposed against the island for more than 60 years and ratified that the political dialogue agreement prevailing between Havana and Brussels is key. For Cuba, this third council is a confirmation of the will to build a better bilateral relationship.
I must strive to maintain the unity of all in the vote of the United Nations against the blockade that we have achieved so far. I must strive to make everyone understand that including Cuba in the list of countries that support terrorism is an outrage and that it has no justification. One can disagree with one's political system, but it is another thing to say that Cuba supports international terrorism.
For his part, President Miguel Díaz-Canel highlighted the historical ties in the relations between Cuba and Europe, adding that relations in different fields have improved.
We are very pleased with the implementation of this agreement with the European Union, and I believe that when you analyze the relationship between Cuba and Europe, you always find the historical and cultural ties between Cuba and Europe are a pillar to facilitate today. And in the future, the strengthening of all of our relations in different fields. I believe that both in the political and diplomatic areas, as well as in the cooperation area, there is a path that has been organized and that is giving results.
In Cuba, the National Assembly of People's Power approved the social communication law, an unprecedented mechanism on the island which regulates the contents of the state-owned media. According to the president of the Institute of Information and Social Communication, Alfonso Noya, the aim of the law is to regulate the communication system for strategic and integrated management in the organization of media and community spheres with political, organizational, and commercial purposes, and public good both in physical and digital public spaces. It also aims to establish the principles of organization and operation for all social communication media in the country. Parliament's approval of the social communication law divides society between those who recognize its value in defining the rules of the journalistic game in Cuba and those who believe that it does not change much of the status quo of the media system, but only regulates it in an explicit manner. In Ecuador, former policeman Herman Cázares' confessed murder of his wife, lawyer Maria Belén Bernal, was sentenced to 34 years and 8 months in prison, a notorious case in Ecuador that involved the entire police institution.
Silenced. For almost 9 months, they have been standing up seeking justice for Maria Belén. Maria Belén Bernal was murdered on September 11, 2022, by the husband, a lieutenant of the Ecuadorian police, on the premises of a police training school, a resounding case that shocked the entire country.
The femicide took place in the police school, a place where the state must take care of you, where police officers have the objective duty of care to take care of the victims, to take care of the citizens in general.
Elizabeth Oravalo, Maria Belén's mother, denounced state complicity in the crime and smear campaign against her. They accused her of seeking financial compensation through her struggle.
I'm not doing this for money. Where is the money, gentlemen? I want my daughter back. I want justice. I just want justice. And now we're fighting patriarchal powers. And now.
But Maria Belén was not the only one. In 2022, 332 women were murdered for gender-related reasons in Ecuador. So far, in 2023, the scenario is not better. There are already 122 registered femicides.
We suffer the loss of our loved ones, my sister, her daughter. The state doesn't realize that behind the victims of femicide, there are relatives, there are children, there are siblings, there are mothers.
Victims' families denounce negligence by the judicial system.
I am a person who is threatened with death by the perpetrators of my niece, despite the fact that the prosecutor's office and some public institutions have asked for my protection. Yet nothing, the judge does nothing.
The prosecutors delay the hearings, the formulation of charges are not complied with. Unfortunately, as organizations, we have to suffer these violations by the justice system that does not exist in our country.
The sentence in the case of Maria Belén Bernal was due to be announced last week. However, the trial hearing was suspended due to the absence of the defendant's defense attorneys. This Thursday, it was restated. German Canceres was sentenced to 34 years and 8 months in prison, and Alfonso Camacho, a policeman accused of not helping the victim, even though he would have listened to her pleas, was acquitted.
Elena Rodríguez, TeleSUR Ecuador.
The Brazilian government announced a popular car plan aimed at lowering the price of automobiles as a way of modernizing the industrial park and stimulating consumption in the country. The program was presented by the Brazilian government on the occasion of the Industry Day, when President Luiz Inácio da Silva stressed the need for Brazilians to have access to cheaper cars. The plan establishes tax exemptions for the cheapest cars as well as for those that result in more jobs for the industry. According to the announcement, taxes will be reduced for vehicles with a market sale price of up to 120,000 reais, which represents an equivalent of almost $24,000. The tax benefit is supposed to reach 33 models of 11 different brands. On Friday, the Constitutional Court of Guatemala ruled to end the presidential campaign of Darfur's candidate, Carlos Pineda, with only 1 month remaining before voting begins. Pineda, a conservative businessman with a strong social media following, had appealed to the country's highest court after it just suspended his candidacy a week ago, citing non-compliance with the country's election laws. But the Constitutional Court on Friday upheld the lower court's ruling, which found that Pineda failed to collect signatures from party delegates and file required financial reports as required in the nomination process. The decision provoked a fiery response from Pineda, who had recently emerged as the front-runner in one election poll. On Friday, also, the Prime Minister of Barbados received a Venezuelan delegation led by Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez. On her official Twitter account, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Motley welcomed them to Barbados. One of this visit main objective is strengthening relations with Venezuela in energy, agriculture, and air transport, among other areas of cooperation. Similarly, the Vice President of Venezuela thanked her for the beloved welcome and stated that they brought the message of friendship from President Nicolas Maduro and reviewed the bilateral agenda for the happiness of the peoples. Latin America and the Caribbean, if they are united, there is hope. Let's take a short break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. On Saturday, several ships of the Atlantic Alliance are taking part in joint exercises scheduled by NATO in Helsinki, the capital of Finland. According to a statement from the Finnish Navy, the Norwegian Coast Guard corvette Nordkapp, which is leading the group, as well as the French mine hunter Pegasus, the German minesweeper Rodwell, and some Finnish Katanpää vessels, are expected to take part in its training. The transatlantic organization thus inaugurates Baltops 23 in the Baltic Sea, where they will demonstrate its defensive and offensive capabilities. On April 4, 2023, Finland becomes the 31st member of NATO. This annexation allowed NATO's land border with Russia to grow from 1,300 kilometers to more than 2,600 kilometers. On Friday, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić urged NATO to urgently cease violence against Serbs after several clashes in the north of the self-proclaimed Republic of Kosovo. The president's decision to declare maximum readiness in his country came after units of the Kosovar Special Forces broke into the administrative building of the municipality of Svekan. The arrival of the Kosovar agents was accompanied by the sounding of sirens in other localities such as Levosavic, Mitrovica, and Subin Potok, located in the district of Kosovska Mitrovica. RTS channel details that the attackers plan to place the flag symbolizing the independence of Kosovo on the headquarters of the municipal administration of Subin Potok. Thousands of government supporters took to the streets of Belgrade, Serbia's capital, on Friday following a string of demonstrations against President Aleksandar Vučić's administration. The rally is widely perceived as a government response to the opposition-led protests that have seen tens of thousands demonstrating one of the largest mass demonstrations to rock the Balkan country in decades. The president hailed Friday's event as a gathering to unite Serbia and to show that it has a future. The protests against the government first took shape earlier this month following back-to-back shootings within 48 hours, including a massacre at an elementary school in Belgrade.
I trust the people that lead this country, and that is why I'm here, to support this rally, and that's it.
I came here so we can leave this dark Serbia and enter the future of this country. The only man that can do this is Aleksandar Vučić.
On Saturday, the Russian government assured that it has not ruled out the possibility of breaking off diplomatic relations with the United Kingdom. The spokeswoman of the Russian Foreign Minister, Maria Zakharova, explained there are serious indications that the government of London could be involved in the planning, organization and support of the attacks perpetrated by Kiev against the Russian territory. The Russian diplomat acknowledged that this is an extreme measure, but it is within the options, as Russia warns and denounces the repeated efforts of the British government to support a government that she described as neo-Nazi. A pipeline administration building in Russia was severely damaged on Saturday after an explosion caused by a drone attack in Pskov province in the northwest of the country. Local Governor Mikhail Vedrnikov reported that the explosion occurred when two unmanned aerial vehicles were flying over the Litvinovo area on Saturday morning near the border with Belarus and Latvia. Assured that the incident had left no injuries and no fatalities. He also explained that the emergency services are working at the scene of the incident, where they have launched investigations into the incident. So far, the origin of the drones has not been identified. And this Saturday, Spain has started its period of reflection prior to May 28th elections. The electoral ban is a break for citizens to analyze without the noise of campaigns their electoral decisions. For many, this Saturday is of special importance due to the accusations of vote buying widely spread. In response to the tensions expected by the authorities, 99,000 police officers will be deployed as of Saturday, the largest security deployment in the history of an election in the country. And Turkey entered the home stretch of an acrimonious presidential campaign on Friday, in which Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his secular rival Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu exploited fears over migrants and Kurdish militants. In Sunday's runoff, Erdogan appears on track to extend until 2028 the 2 decades of his Islamic-style rule. His victory would preserve the key NATO member's reputation as the problem child pushing his own course in the Middle East. Erdogan surprised pollsters on May 14th when he pulled ahead of his 2 challengers and came within a whisker of crossing the 50% threshold to win the race in the first round. TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, Now 461, and enjoy Latin American alternative broadcasts. One final short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The war in Sudan has moved to the northern city of Darfur in the border area with Chad. The conflict is estimated to leave over 1 million people displaced. After hitting Khartoum, the country's capital, violence hit western Darfur. Residents fleeing to Chad and in smaller numbers to South Sudan, claiming that the battle for power between the army and the rapid support forces has taken over the territories. Paramilitaries deny the accusation. According to the International Organization for Migration, over 319,000 people have already left the country, while more than 1 million live between different cities to save themselves from violence. On Friday, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia is ready to supply Somalia's army with military equipment in its war against terrorism. Russia's top diplomat said Moscow reaffirmed its readiness to meet the material needs of the Somalian army in its fight against extremists that remain on Somalian territory, including Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda. Somalia has faced numerous attacks from Al-Qaeda's East Africa affiliate group, Al-Shabaab, and recently the government embarked on what has been described as the most significant offensive against the Al-Shabaab extremist group in more than a decade. The extreme group has held back the nation's recovery from decades of conflicts. On Friday, the Democratic Republic of the Congo is looking to strengthen their partnership with China as the two countries are renegotiating mining contracts for the DRC's mineral reserves. The first state visit to China by the president of the DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, is the latest in a series of diplomatic exchanges between African leaders and Beijing. Mr. Tshisekedi and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping announced that they were upgrading the bilateral relationship from a win-win strategic cooperative partnership to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership. China is a major investor in DRC, where the Asian power dominates the lucrative mining industry with companies such as Seco Mines. In Uruguay, food prices rise as a result of the prolonged drought affecting the nation. The National Statistics Institute stated that the monthly variation in prices was 0.75% in general, with great emphasis on food and non-alcoholic beverages. The last monthly report of the Consumer Price Index Information System in April 2023 detailed that during that month the price of the American tomato increased 38% with respect to March. Meanwhile, the government encourages the importation of products such as potatoes in order to guarantee supply to the population. Experts assure that Uruguay is suffering one of the worst droughts ever, with the country's water reserves operating at 10% of their capacity. The situation is forcing the authorities to mix the vital liquid with water supply from the estuary of the Rio de la Plata, which has high levels of sodium and chloride, making it undrinkable. Meanwhile, government authorities have reported that the main reservoir in Montevideo currently has enough water to last 10 days. We have come to the end of this news brief, and you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.